H.P. Lovecraft. Man, this is Lovecraftian. Oh, this is so Lovecraftian. I heard that so many times. I need to know where is the actual jumping off point on this stuff, because I don't think my co-host can read.
Non-apologetic nonsense.
Forever, everyone's told me that everything I like is Lovecraftian, right? TV shows, movies, video games. Games I like most are like Dark Souls, Bloodborne, and all those are constantly compared to Lovecraft, especially Bloodborne, right? It's been suggested to me for just so long. So yesterday, I finally got my first 2 Lovecraft books in. We have the Dream Cycle of Lovecraft, Dreams of Terror and Death. And then we have this ginormous novel, which is the complete fiction of H.P. Lovecraft. Look at his joint. Woo-wee. I'm not exactly sure where to start, but what actually pushed me over the edge was this podcast called Creepcast, okay? So it's a dude named Wendigo, I believe is his name, and Papa Meat. Now, Papa Meat is one of the funniest, best edited YouTubers out there. So what they do is they take these short stories that take, 2 to 4 hours to read. One of them will be the narrator. The other one will do the voices. And they're all like horror stories. So there were 3 stories recently I heard them reading. They just hammered it in, man. This is Lovecraftian. Oh, this is so Lovecraftian. I heard that so many times. 2 of these 3 stories were written by an artist named Dopamine. The stories, I wrote them down. I clean hoarder houses for a living, so just like it sounds. I clean hoarder houses. Kid and a dude come across the painting. The painting's moving. Inside is a complete world full of like ancient temples and this being that's calling to them. And then going in there gets you infected with these parasites and doppelgangers. So throughout this whole thing, Lovecraftian, I'm like, maybe I ought to check out their books. Very next night, I listened to My Best Friend is a Dead Girl in My Yard, I believe is the name. And this one was bananas. It's like a 12-year-old boy, his younger sibling and his mother are dying, and they live in the middle of nowhere. So he's patrolling the land, and he comes across this just deformed being, just spider-looking, elongated face, yellow eyes, named Wendy. So Wendy keeps talking about she protects her brothers from the monster in the woods, So they became these monsters by eating things that were living people. So every time one of her brothers or someone would die out there, she would take their spinal column in their skull and plant it. Like a taproot on a seed. And then she would pour this like stew made from dead people, and then it would turn them into those beings that live forever in the forest, tormented, all that. So I keep hearing Lovecraftian, and this story had me I was all in, right? Trying to go to sleep, listening to it was an impossibility. But what pushed it over the edge was a story called Dagon's Mirror. Relative dies. Guy gets an inheritance of the estate. He finds a bunch of books on the occult, and then he finds a mirror. But when you lay the mirror down, it has ripples like water. So it was a story of that was a portal to like some forgotten gods of the deep, and then they find out their bloodline's tainted, and they, at a certain age, the males in that family turn into like these half-fish demons and eventually have to return to the water. And I remember the host of that show saying, if you told us this was written by H.P. Lovecraft, we would 100% believe you. So I'm like, all right, that's it. I'm ordering something. So I do a quick Google search, but of like what to read first, but everyone's all over the place. So in this complete fiction of H.P. Lovecraft, I winded up reading that if I wanted a good starting point to start with one of these short stories. This has several long stories, several short stories. So I read a story called Dagon, which obviously was where Dagon's Mirror name came from. I thought this was a good story. There wasn't much to it. It was like 10 pages, but guy is shipwrecked. He comes across an island. There's like a enclosure, like he can climb down, and he sees a monument to these gods, forgotten gods of the deep. And then one of them sticks with him, I think follows him home, something. I thought it was all right, but I need to know where is the actual jumping off point on this stuff. Because I've read I need to start with the Call of Cthulhu. But I've also read on sweaty Reddit forums that the Call of Cthulhu is actually 3 different stories. It's the Cthulhu series, but I can't really find information. Like the actual story called Call of Cthulhu, do I start with that? Or am I jumping in mid-story? Because I'd really like to just, jump right into this stuff and see what there is. Because if you know me, I'm always deep in a book. I'm always reading something. Or like I say, beyond the 20 stories in here, this was just a blind buy, but it's the Dream Cycles, the epic nightmare adventure with tendrils stretching throughout the entire dream cycle. So it seems most of Lovecraft, his stuff has a focus around like sea creatures, like these gods of the deep. But I'm looking for something that kind of terrifies me, leaves me feeling uneasy. Because I need a break from the stuff I've been reading. Lately I've been reading the banned books of the Bible, the books that are proven to have been in the Bible and related stuff that was taken out. Our modern Bibles do not have it in there. So I've been reading like the Book of Enoch, and then I started reading about Solomon, Solomon's Testament, Lesser and Greater Keys of Solomon. And then if you start reading about like Solomonic magic, it'll take you to like Aleister Crowley, for example. And man, if you're reading stuff like that, I read at night before I go to bed. You close that book, you shut the lights off, and man, you just get this feeling of uneasiness. Like you're just laying in bed, just creeped out to your bones. I'm looking for something similar to that that's more fictional. Because if you do follow Christian or Judaic beliefs, then like Solomon, for example, his testament where God seeks him to essentially catalog the demons, summon each one with his protection, who is the angel you answer to, what purpose do you have towards men? How do you taunt men? How do you bring them to your wishes? So if you believe if you're Jewish or if you're Christian and you believe in that, you believe these demons existed. You believe, the angels that protect them, the archangels, they existed. Or if you're talking about the Book of Enoch, you have your Watchers and the Nephilim and that whole story. So I'm looking for something that gives me the same creeps that I don't take a chance of maybe accidentally opening up a door that I don't know how to close. You know what I mean? But yeah, so where do I start with Lovecraft? Is it Call of Cthulhu? Is it something else? Because I see so many collections of his, that have so many different variations of stories. But what I kept seeing that you needed to start with was Call of Cthulhu, The Shadow over Innsmouth, At the Mountains of Madness, and The Case of Charles Dexter Ward was what I saw most of. But I mean, this thing probably has, there's about 15 per page, so 15, 30, 45. There's probably about 60 stories here spanning, I don't know, I think it's about 1,200 pages, 1,100 pages. Or like I say, the Dream Cycle. Either way, I'm all in. I want to check this out. I want to see if it's really worth it. I like Dagon. I just got to get past the... Like you can tell it was written in the early 1900s, right? I think once I can read a little bit, chew on the speech that it's written, once I can figure out how to flow with that, I think it'll be all good. I think I'm going to become obsessive with this because I'm a big fat dork and I become obsessive with books. But yeah, I'll read another story and we'll talk about it, but it'll definitely have to be on a solo show because I don't think my co-host can read.